Hi guys, welcome back to the Drive Life channel, and in today's video I'm going to be telling you the story about how and why I bought my Volvo S80. Now it's a bit miserable outside, so I thought what I'd do is I'll set up a GoPro inside the car and we'll go for a drive and I'll tell you the story of how and why I bought my Volvo S80. Okay then guys, so we're inside the car. I thought we'd go for a drive. Because the weather is rubbish today. So I thought it would just be easier to go for a drive. I've got to go and get do some essential shopping, get a few bits because we're trying to order throughout lockdown and sort of get them to deliver it. But recently, I don't know if it's getting busier or something like that. But there's more and more stuff either being substituted that we don't want or they haven't got, so got to pop out and do that. But while we're doing it, I thought I'd sort of bring you guys along and tell you a story about how I bought my Volvo. I've had it nearly a year now. I think, what's today? 20th, so it's a year tomorrow, and or today when this video goes out. And yeah, the story of this car was quite an interesting one. It wasn't a car that I ever thought I would buy, to be totally honest. I hadn't gone out and bought it specifically for any reason. It was more of just a load of circumstances that came together, which meant that I ended up with this car. So it all started obviously on the 9th of January last year, when I had my head-on collision with a driver who'd fallen asleep. And that wrote off my BMW, which was the car that I'd started the channel about, really. So I was left with no car. I was in a leg brace and a back brace for well, the leg brace was 2 months, just from some knee damage from the accident. And I'm not gonna lie, I was feeling pretty miserable, fed up and depressed after that, because of my absolute pride and joy. The insurance, although they were paying out fine, I negotiated with them and I had just a crap payout, to be honest. And it was a case of, can I get a car that is as good as I had in the 1 Series for the same money? And really, realistically, I couldn't. So I had to sort of get creative. And the first thing I did when I got back from various medical appointments after the accident and everything was get on Auto Trader to see what I could find, and I couldn't find anything. It was a really, really frustrating time, and it was difficult. So I live very close to an auction house. Actually, we're just going to go past them, so I'll show you where it is. And I'd always been tempted with the idea of going to buy a car from auction, see if I can get a bargain, rebuild it or fix something on it, and flip it. And it turned out that I needed to actually do that to get a car. So I looked on the website and there was a sale the day after my accident, which had this Volvo S80 in it, and obviously I hadn't had any insurance payout or anything like that, so I couldn't go. I had various doctor's appointments and stuff and checkups and x-rays and things like that, so I just had to sort of give it a miss. But I'd spotted this S80 because I'd previously looked at them. This is the auction house just here, which unfortunately I think it's been hit quite hard with COVID because it's being sold off, which is sad. But yeah, I decided previously that I quite like the S80s. I just love big saloon cars, and it is one of those. I like Volvos as well. I looked at V70s, V60s, C30s. I just like Scandinavian cars. I looked at Saabs and all sorts before buying the BMW. So, like I said, I looked on their website and they had this car that was going up for sale. And unfortunately, I wasn't in a position to buy it at that point. However, it sold at the auction, and then the seller pulled out, which don't know why. It must have been some sort of divine intervention or something. So I then had another week and a half before it was going to come up for sale again. And for those of you that have been involved in accidents, even if someone admit fault straight away like the other driver did, these things still take time. It's like they almost don't realise that you need your car to live, especially for me with the YouTube channel. I needed my payout quickly to get a car, which I understand they've got to go through processes and things like that, but it was just a bit frustrating really. So they paid out after I bought the car. So I bought the car. Fortunately my parents were able to loan me some money until the payout came, which was only about £3,500 for the BMW, which was a real shame, because that car was worth to me a lot more than that. And so I bought the car, and it was one of those things. I spoke to my dad, and he couldn't come with me because he was working. Spoke to my mother. I just really needed a lift down to the auction house, because obviously I have my leg in a splint, and obviously if I'm going to go there to buy a car, taking my hire car that's from the insurance company down there didn't make sense, because I'd then have to get that back somehow, and it was all just a bit of a logistical nightmare. But unfortunately, yeah, there was no one around to take me, so I thought, you know what, I'll just go down there anyway. You have to collect the vehicle the same day, and you can't actually leave it there, otherwise you get charged storage costs, which I didn't want. So anyway, so I turned up at 8:30 in the morning, in the green bug hire car, which was a Hyundai Kona, fluorescent green, and sat in this auction house. It was absolutely freezing. It was about sort of 2 degrees, and I was freezing, absolutely freezing. And I was sat there in my leg brace. I couldn't bend my legs, so I was completely out straight, and I sat there for 3 hours. Typically the car was one of the last on the lot, so sat there for 3 hours, and then the car came up. So I placed a bid well, originally no one bid. If you've ever been to an auction, what they do is they start off with a bidding price, and if no one bids, they lower that price as much as they can to get people to bid. And sometimes it means you can get quite a good deal, or sometimes it just means there's people sort of playing the long game. So it started off at £2,000, and then went all the way down to £600, this car, which is unbelievable. I just thought, no matter what's wrong with it, I'm having it at that price. And I've done my homework, I've done a few HPI checks and MOT checks, etc., and I could see that the car was a fairly good car. So I placed my bid at £600, and then was outbid at £700. And we had sort of mini bidding war all the way up to £1,300, and I was willing to pay £2,500 for the car. That's my budget that I'd set myself, because I thought, well, if there is stuff wrong with it, that gives me a nice little contingency to fix bits. So it got to £1,300, and I placed a bid, and another bidder came in at £1,300, take up to £1,400. So I put another bid in at £1,500, and the room fell silent, and I was frantically looking around with my pasty in my hands, because I was desperate for this car. This was the only car I wanted from that auction, and if I didn't get it, it would mean that I'd have to put up with the hire car, which I couldn't really drive because it was a manual and my leg was locked straight. So I tried not to drive that where I could. It was a case of sort of chucking it into a gear and sticking the cruise control on and hoping that I didn't have to slow down. But yeah, anyway, we sorted that. Oh, that's interesting, an old Mercedes fire engine. I don't know if you guys can see that in the shop. Yeah, so I had to get this car, and like I said, the room fell silent, and it then the hammer went down and it was sold, and it was dead mine. So which is really awesome, that feeling. But for those of you that don't know, again, the way that auctions work is that the auction house then have to call the seller to make sure they're happy to sell it at that price, because they're selling it on behalf of a seller. And yeah, so we then had a phone call with him. He was a bit disappointed at the price, sort of the fact that it hadn't sold for a number of weeks beforehand worked in my favour, and he accepted the price. So I then went and paid the balance in full. Just paid the bill straight away, so the car was now mine. Got it, and it had a flat tyre, and it was just a really exciting time, but very quite an odd occasion. I was off work obviously with my injuries, so like I said, I came down with the car in the morning, but I packed a bag with pumps. I'd even put an oil change kit and some tools because I didn't know what the car was going to be like, and got it, parked my car next to it, charged the battery because it wouldn't start. They pushed it into the auction, which is always a fantastic first impression for a car, isn't it? So I put the battery jump pack on it, I got my compressor out, pumped up the tyres, and yeah, that was it. It was a really weird experience. That car was now mine, so I insured it there and then. I'd paid a bit of a premium to get it insured there and then. I probably should have insured it beforehand, but I didn't want to, just because of the fact that if I didn't end up buying it, then I'd be paying out for insurance that I then have to cancel, which is just rubbish really. So yeah, that is, wow, okay. There's a lorry trying to overtake about 5 vehicles with another lorry coming straight towards it, so I might have to slam the brakes on in a minute. Oh god, it's a nightmare. So yeah, I think it was a bit of road rage. So yeah, that feeling of getting the car, insuring it, it had literally no fuel in it, and I'm not sure whether the auction house had drained the fuel and put it in some of their own vehicles, because that's what they sometimes do. They'll drain the fuel tank just to sort of save themselves money, and just a little extra margin for them. And so luckily it's right next to a fuel station, this place, and I filled the car up, and then went for a drive, and it was my first time ever driving an automatic, and yeah, it was just great fun. I didn't care that the front bumper was damaged. I didn't care that it was damp inside. It was just a really exciting experience, and I think that's what these cars are all about. It's the stories that are attached to them, and I'd say that it's really corny, but the car sort of found me rather than me finding the car. It was just a perfect alignment of the stars that allowed me to get it. So yeah, now a year later we're still here. It's running absolutely brilliantly, and I'm going to go through in perhaps the next video or a later video on everything that I've spent on the car, what it's cost me to own, and yeah, I'm just talking about really how it's been to own. But as a little precursor, it's been fantastic. I haven't got any complaints, and yeah, it was just, like I said, a very lucky series of events. So yeah, let me know if you guys have got any stories like this. I mean, all of my cars that I buy have some sort of story. They all hold some sort of special meaning to me, and I think that's what makes this car special. It's what gives you that bond with the cars. So yeah, let me know your guys' car stories, but I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.